Here's why I quit my job to do real estate full-time and be a landlord. So one of the benefits of being self-employed is being able to be flexible with your schedule. Just 2 weeks ago, my husband had a family emergency, had to leave for Europe in 3 days. So not only were flights $2,000, which were an emergency expense we had not budgeted for, but I have never been alone with my kids for more than 3 hours at a time. So I had 3 days notice and my husband was gonna be gone for 10 whole days and I was gonna be alone with my children. I had to completely clear my entire work schedule because there was no way I could even take a single phone call and manage these 2 little monkeys running around my house. So within that short of notice, I was able to clear my schedule so that I could attend to my children and my husband could leave worry-free that I was gonna be able to handle things. Imagine not even needing to take sick days because you have the flexibility of being self-employed. So I worked corporate sales for about 9 years. I started being a landlord in 2011. It was now 2014 and I'd always been doing this on the side, right? I had 3 properties in the Chicagoland area and I always wanted to make sure that my landlord business never got in the way of my job. So it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I was at Midway Airport going down to Atlanta, Georgia with my boss who had just had a baby. This was her first business trip since coming back to work after her maternity leave. And we were at 5 o'clock in the morning at Midway Airport waiting for our 6 o'clock flight to Atlanta and then driving about 2.5 hours down to Columbus, Georgia for a business meeting. Then driving 2.5 hours back to the Atlanta airport to fly home. So I remember sitting in the airport with her and I got a price alert that tickets were $300 to Istanbul round trip. Now Istanbul's been like my #1 bucket list place to visit. And I remember it was April of 2014 or whatever. I remember sitting next to her and showing her like, look, I'm gonna go to Istanbul. And she starts saying, well, you know, you can't go in April because of this, and then May you've got that. And she starts going through like my schedule of my business. And then she's finally like, well, in October you can go for a week. And I remember looking at her being like, this is not what I want with my life, right? If I want to be able to just stop what I'm doing and take trips like this. Within 2 months, that June, 2 months later, I ended up quitting my job and going into real estate full-time as a landlord. If you're thinking about firing corporate America to get into real estate full-time, send me a DM and let's talk. So I've been a licensed realtor for a while, but I hadn't taken on clients in a very long time. So I used my license just to do my own real estate deals. Quickly realized that was not the kind of person that I was. So after a few months of relaxing, I realized that the portfolio didn't need my full-time attention. I was at a meetup event and this guy came up to me. He had heard one of my podcasts and said, I want to do what you've done with your life. I want to build a portfolio of rental properties and eventually quit my job to do real estate full-time. So I told him, legally I am licensed as an agent. I can help you, but I have not taken on a client in 10 years. I don't even have a car. So this guy wanted him to be my first client and came and picked me up almost 2-3 times a week to go look at houses with me until we ended up buying his first property a couple months later. That was my first client and that's how I started my brokerage firm. This is how a simple conversation at happy hour led to my multi-million-dollar business. So I had a networking event here in Chicago and this guy, John, would come to my events every once in a while. After a few times, he said to me, let's go have breakfast or lunch and let's talk business. We went out to breakfast one day. We just kind of talked about business, real estate, growing your portfolio. And then I really didn't talk to him for about a year. Then I flew out to Joe Fairless's Best Ever conference in Denver and ran into John there. So he was a familiar face. We got to talking. You know, we enjoyed the conference. I flew back, he flew back. We really didn't talk again. Then about 6 months later, I flew out to San Francisco for another conference and John was there too. During the conference, we were just talking about how much we loved these sort of events and how there was nothing like this in Chicago. After traveling twice that year and running into each other at events, we decided to explore launching the Midwest Real Estate Networking Summit. This is the origin story to the Midwest Real Estate Networking Summit, the largest real estate investors networking event in the Midwest. And if you haven't, the next event is February 2024. The link is gonna be in my bio.